Good morning, y'all. Felon 47 just can't escape the mess of the Epstein file. Epstein followed him to Scotland, where he announced a deal that wasn't a deal with the EU, which right afterwards the EU came out and said this isn't a deal because the $600 billion that we agreed to put into the U.S. economy is really just going to be from private companies in the EU, and we have no authority to actually make them do it, right? So it was another nothing burger from the president. And Nicole Wallace is a really good breakdown of how he keeps trying to get past this. We even saw Dan Bongino come out with a cryptic text, which is like, look, I told you to put me in the government and I would handle the deep state, but now I want to tell you that now I'm in the government and I am the deep state, but there's a deeper deep state. So just trust me, we have these investigations going on. In other words, I'm a podcast guy and I made my money telling you about the Epstein list and the elites and the cabal of sex trafficking pedophiles. But I know it looks like it's my boss, and it is, but just pay attention here, because I'm still cool and I want you to still like me when this is all over and done with, okay? Because his reputation is in tatters. He is done. But now he couldn't quit. Now he's back in the DOJ. Pam Bondi didn't get fired, and he just looks like a dummy. So he's coming out with this weird statement saying, "Oh, just trust me," and put a little cryptic things. I will never be the same after all I've seen in this job. Dude, we know he's in the files. Just release the files. Trump's saying, oh no, it's a hoax, it's a hoax. Man, the worst scum in the world have run those files for the last 4 years. The guy I was running against ran those files. He can put anything in those files, which just told us that Donald Trump is telling us how easy it is to make up fake numbers, like fake job reports, fake job numbers, so that the inflation doesn't look quite as bad as it is, which I believe he's doing right now. Our inflation is much worse than 2.7%, but they have been just putting in fake numbers for job reports to try to cover their asses and their statistics, which look like shit. His numbers are down all across the board. His poll numbers have not risen since the Epstein list came out, like he said when he was in the EU. But listen to Nicole Walls. She says it better than I can.
Trump entering the week in a position he doesn't typically find himself in, with some of his most loyal backers low mo, as in low momentum, on spinning a bogus narrative about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Brand new reporting in the Washington Post reveals that Team Trump was caught flat-footed by the reaction to the DOJ memo that attempted to pour cold water on the existence of bombshell revelations in the government's possession. Claims spread most convincingly and prolifically by the officials who now populate the highest levels of Trump's own administration. From that new reporting, quote, Donald Trump is increasingly frustrated with his administration's handling of the furor around the Jeffrey Epstein files, concerned that the saga's unabated domination of the news is overshadowing his agenda. That is according to two people familiar with his thinking. One person tells the Washington Post this, quote, this is a pretty substantial distraction. While many are trying to keep the unity, in many ways the DOJ and the FBI are breaking at the seams. Many are wondering how sustainable this is going to be for all the parties involved, be it the FBI director or the Attorney General. Well, perhaps the FBI director or the Attorney General should have dialed back the promises they were making on television about the existence of lists and other evidence, given that they were appointed by a president who has made no secret about his belief that the main function of the FBI director and Attorney General is now to protect him. We have shown you many of the clips of Dan Bongino and Kash Patel pushing, clamoring, screaming about the release of the Epstein files. Remember, it is Kash Patel who lashed out at House Republicans back in 2023 by saying this, quote, put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. And
they're not handling this very well. You know, there's a lot of leaks that have been coming out of this administration. It leaks like a sieve. I think different DOJ people are now trying to, leak in just to help push their own narrative, to help shape the narrative, to help them individually. There isn't any unity. There is no cohesion in this administration. And maybe he didn't want us to talk about these leaks that I'm about to talk about. Maybe he wanted us to talk about them now, but I don't think so. Just betting on what he said in this meeting that was a week ago, a year ago.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having
Look at their
the
faces.
Success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just
Remember that? He wanted us to talk about the Texas floods then, to distract from Epstein. Even not that it would make him look good, because it was because of his disastrous FEMA response that all of those children died in the first place. That was all on him. But now it's coming back up into the spotlight. Not for the reasons he wants, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Kristi Noem was derided as Homeland Barbie. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's carefully crafted image as a tough woman has taken a hit. In the aftermath of deadly flooding in Texas over the July 4th holiday that claimed 137 lives, Noem faced criticism from Ken Pagarek, head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency's FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Division, who quit in protest over a 72-hour delay responding to the crisis that he blamed on her budget-slashing restructuring. It appears Texas officials responding to the disaster on the ground were no fans of the Homeland Security Secretary either, according to text messages obtained by local news station KSAT. As rescuers pulled bodies from the Guadalupe River, Noem toured the area and held a press conference on July 5th. After the media event, a local government staffer texted Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice, who appeared standing behind Noem on television, to say, "Just saw you met Homeland Barbie. How is she?" according to KSAT. Rice responded via text, basically Homeland Barbie. The Daily Beast first gave the 53-year-old the moniker of Ice Barbie for her love of dolling up and inviting the press to photograph her cosplaying an image of an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent or standing in front of detained migrants behind bars, among other bizarre publicity stunts. The former South Dakota governor has faced withering criticism for her response to Texas floods. Under Noem's tenure, the FEMA, which is part of the DHS, fired hundreds of contractors at call centers in the lead up to the disaster. A report from the New York Times then found the FEMA failed to answer nearly 2/3 of distress calls from victims. What's more, a new rule requiring all grants and contracts over $100,000 to be signed by the secretary delayed the deployment of search and rescue crews by 72 hours. I will tell you right now that Donald Trump, his focus is him. He sent his second in command of the DOJ down to see Ghislaine Maxwell faster than he had FEMA respond to pull bodies out of the water of children down in Texas. Sent them faster to see Ghislaine Maxwell than they ever sent them to try to find those kids lost in a flood. So fuck Donald Trump and fuck this administration. All they do is lie. All they do is protect. All they do is obfuscate. And if you're not sick of it, you're not fucking paying attention.